you know who's taking me to the doctor? Do you know where it is?
100 meters from Dr. Borisov, but I don't know exactly.
Okay. Do you have the address? Do we know if he speaks English? That's not what I'm asking. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Brahmadakacharya Asadhara Satushi Shiman His Divine Grace Shri Bhaktivedanta Smaraj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribo Slava Zabrani Bhaktam Slava Shri Guru Shri Gurangi Om Agyanatimirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Pandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sakanzitam Scha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sudadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Bhavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitinanda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, The Appearance of Sri Narada, text number 9. Abhimanyu Sutam Sutta Prahura Bhagavatotamam Tasya Janma Mahascharyam Kamani Cha Grihinina Abhimanyu Sutam Sutta Prahura Bhagavatotamam Tasya Janma Mahascharyam Kamani Cha Grihinina Tasya Janma Mahascharyam Karmani Cha Grihinina Abhimanyu Sutam Sutta Prahura Bhagavatotamam Tasya Janma Mahascharyam Kamani Cha Grihini Cha Madhajis. Abhimanyu Sutam Sutta Prahura Bhagavatotamam Tasya Janma Mahascharyam Kamani Cha Grihini Cha Abhimanyu Sutam, the son of Abhimanyu. Sutta, O Sutta, Prahu, it is said to be Bhagavata Uttamam, the first class devotee of the Lord. Tasya, his, Janma, birth, Mahascharyam, very wonderfully, Karmani, activities, Cha, and Grihini, please speak to us. Naha, us. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord, and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. Please repeat. It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord, that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. Purport, the birth of Maharaj Parikshit is wonderful because in the womb of his mother, he was protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. His activities are also wonderful because he chastised Kali, who was attempting to kill a cow. To kill cows means end human civilization. He wanted to protect the cow from being killed by the great representative of sin. His death is also wonderful because he got previous notice of his death, which is wonderful for any mortal being, thus he prepared himself for passing away by sitting down on the bank of the Ganges and hearing the transcendental activities of the Lord. During all the days he heard Bhagavatam, he did not take food or drink, nor did he sleep a moment. So everything about him is wonderful, and his activities worth hearing attentively. Desire is expressed herein to hear about him in detail. Abhimanyu sutam sutta prahura bhagavatotamam tasya janma mahashcharyam karmani chagrihinina. It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is a great first-class devotee of the Lord, and his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskyadyade Satarane. It is said that there are two types of Bhagavats, the book Bhagavat and the devotee Bhagavat. And both of them are the same. One gets the association of Krishna by either hearing from the book Bhagavat or the devotee Bhagavat. Therefore, Bhagavatam deals with both the Lord and his pure devotees, especially their activities and their accomplishments, because it is said that yad yadacharya shestas tad tad eve tarao janaha siyat pramanam kurute lokastadu navartate. Whatever a great person does, then all the common men will follow in his footsteps. And whatever exemplary acts he performs, that all the world will pursue. So out of all the different topics of hearing about great devotees of Krishna is extremely important. Recommended in the Bhagavatam especially, Mahat Sevam Dwara, Ohara Vimuktes, Tabo Dwaram Yoshita Sangi Sangam, that Mahat Sevam Dwara, Ohara Vimuktas, by understanding who actually is a great devotee and serving them, that opens the door to liberation. Otherwise, Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahora Vimuktes, Tamo Dwaram Yoshita Sangi Sangam, Mahantas Te Sama Chitak, Vimanyavo Sadavo Ye. Otherwise, if one doesn't follow the path of the Mahajans, or the great devotees, the Mahats, then one will be forced to follow the path of the non-devotees, and therefore become entangled in the material consciousness, especially lust, anger, and greed, which will lead to illusion and envy and bewilderment. So that's our choice. So unless we appreciate the activities of a devotee like Maharaj Parikshit, unless we hear the activities of a devotee like Maharaj Parikshit, then we'll be forced to engage in materialistic activities. Nunam pramatat kurute vikarma, et indriya pritya aprinoti, nesadu manye yat atmanoyam, asannapi kleshida ashadeha. Maharaj Rishabdev says, Nunam pramatak kurute vikarma. It is indeed wonderful that materialistic people are engaged in vikarma, activities that only produce bad results, suffering, actually, vikarma. And what is that suffering caused by? Prita indriya, by the affection of trying to gratify the senses, the feeling of happiness that comes when the senses gratify, and therefore taking that as true happiness. Yet indriya prita aprinot nasadamanya. An intelligent person won't think like that this is the goal of life, is to gratify my senses. Nasadamanya yatma atmanoya asannapi kleshada ashadeha. Because by such activities, which are only temporary, one will simply get one body after another. Therefore, paravas tavadavoda jata, yavan kriyatavadi, paravas tadi iboda jato, yavan kriyatas jignasita atmatadvam, yavan kriyat paravastara abodha jata ivan Paravastava bodha jata yavana jignasita atmatadvam yavat kriyatavadi dhammanovai karmatmaka yena sharira bandhaha. That paravastava bodha jata, as long as one does not yavan na jignasita atmatadvam, as long as one is not inquisitive about the absolute truth, then one will be defeated by ignorance. In other words, it's not enough to just think everything's all right, everything will be fine, because my material life has been well planned out. That's called ignorance. One is defeated by ignorance. And why ignorance? Because we're covered by the material nature, and that's a very big problem for us. If someone has a knife in your back, you say, well, it's not so bad. It's a little uncomfortable, but I can tolerate. It's not a good idea. Better to get someone to take the knife out. Similarly, being covered by ignorance, by material illusion, we're suffering, and it's an intelligent person who will try to rectify that suffering by getting free from ignorance. Paravastava bodha jato yavana jignasita atmatattva. And that's by inquiring about atmatattva, the truth about existence. Yavan kriyastavadi dhammanovai, because as long as we're covered by ignorance, our consciousness will be unclear. We won't be able to see things as they really are, and therefore we'll make wrong choices and entangle ourselves even further in material nature. Karmatmaka yena sharira bandhaha, and therefore one will have to take one body after another. Therefore it's advised, evam mana karma prasam pranyukte avidyatman upadiyamane pritirnava yavan mai vasudeve namunchate deha yogena tadvat. That one has to, evamana karma prasam pranyukte, one has to get rid of these false designations, upadiyamanas. This I am a woman, I am a man, I am Indian, I am American, I am Croatian, I am Slovene. Whatever we may think, it's all material misrepresentation. It's a misunderstanding of who we actually are. Evamanak karma prasam pranyukte avidyatma upadiyamane. As long as we have these upadis, then we'll be forced to serve them, because subtly we'll be identified with the gross and subtle material body. And even though we may theoretically decide that, well, actually I won't take it seriously, we do take it seriously. Our very existence is in the material energy, unless evam karma pritirna yavan mai vasudeve. Until we develop an actual love for Vasudeva, for Krishna, until we actually have feelings towards him, we're going to have feelings towards our gross and subtle bodies and things in relationship to this gross and subtle bodies. And that will determine our activities and will determine our destination. Nimuchate deha yogena tadva. And therefore we'll have to take one body after another, which is rather inconvenient and not very pleasant. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj also says, Matirana Krishna parataksatova mito bipadyeta grihavratanam adanta gobira vishatam tamizram punak punas charvata charvananam. Matira means our consciousness. So where are we putting our consciousness? What is our solution to our problems? Everyone recognizes they have problems. unless you're a fool. Or you're completely intoxicated. Everyone has problems. So what is the solution? Vitirana Krishna. The materialists will never put their faith, their consciousness, their refuge, or anything else, their activities, their intelligence, in Krishna consciousness. That's not even the last thing they'll do. It's the only thing they won't do. Mitirana Krishna parataksatova mito bipatyeta grihavratana. So they will put it on trying to figure it out by themselves, self-help, or by the help of others, or by a combination of both, whether it be the United Nations or a self-help book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, How to Make $1 Million in 2 days, written by a person who's homeless. That they'll take shelter of. He's the authority in how to make $1 million, although he's homeless, but he writes very good books. But Krishna's authority, they'll doubt. Well, why should we accept Krishna? So what is our aim? Why do they reject Krishna consciousness? Because it doesn't satisfy their senses. That Mitirana Krishna parataksatova mito bipadyeta grihavratanam. Grihavratanam. They made a vow to live in the material world and to gratify the senses until the end of life. Griha means home. So the first home that everyone lives in is this body. And then we expand it to our family, the home of the family, the home of the nation, the home of humanity, whatever we expand it. But it's all griha, it's all material. And what is the aim? Whether it's our own personal body or other people's bodies or bigger bodies. Simply to gratify, danta gobira vishitam to mizram. Somehow or another make sure that our senses are going to be gratified. There'll be enough to eat, place to sleep, we're going to have opportunities for sex life, and above everything we'll be able to defend ourselves from others who want to take our eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So people think that this is the most important thing in life, and that everything else is insignificant. But punak charvata charvananam. Every day we get up and we try to get out of sleep, and then we try to eat. We do the same thing every day, but we're never satisfied. We're just doing the same thing over and over again. Because why? Nitevidu swartakatim hi Vishnu. We don't know that people don't know that the aim of life is to obtain Krishna consciousness. They have no experience. At least we have some experience. We may not be fully conscious of Krishna, but we have experience, some experience of being a little conscious of Krishna. And therefore we can appreciate there's a path to becoming more conscious of Krishna. But people don't know that. Atevidu swartakatim hi Vishnu. That the goal is to become conscious of Krishna. Darashaya bahir arta manina. And therefore they choose something insignificant as their goal of life. That their soccer team may win, their football team may win, that my child may grow up and become a lawyer, that when I die I'll have a very nice casket to lie down in, I'll be very comfortable. The goal of life is not very elevated. Why? Adan to go yata yadandira upagimanas te pisha tantra urudamibara. Because they're blind. And they've chosen a leader, another blind leader, who doesn't talk about the eternity of the soul or the surrender to the super soul, the Supreme Lord. They talk about how to gratify our senses. And we follow them in the hope that the bigger animal, the bigger hog, dog, camel, and ass, will instruct us very nicely how to become a bigger hog, dog, camel, and ass than we are presently. So the result is that both of them get into difficulty. The leader finds himself simply in the cycle of birth and death, And the follower is also stuck in the cycle of birth and death with no remedy. And if one takes a lower body, then one may not get the opportunity for many millions of lifetimes to get another opportunity to become conscious of Krishna again. Therefore, Naishamati Stavad Arukramangrim Sprishatninarto Bhagavan Anartha Mahi Sampado Rajay Vishekam is Kinchananam Nanavriti Tadvat. That one has to choose a Mahajan, a great soul, who is free from material desires and follow their instructions so we can become free from material desires and ultimately become conscious of Krishna. Otherwise our lives will be wasted, will not be properly spent. So Maharaj Parikshit is such a personality because his activities were wonderful. Who else could, well, he chastised Kali. We're not in a position to chastise Kali. If Kali came before us, hopefully we wouldn't ask Kali for too many benedictions. And he saved this personification of religion, the cow and the bull, because with their destruction, civilization is ended. I already explained how by killing the cow and bull, you make everything, you're forced to get your necessities of life in a very complicated way. And all the consciousness of humanity becomes degraded in their efforts, unnecessary efforts, complicated efforts to get resources. They wind up trying to get resources from others. And because of their sinful activity of killing their father and mother, there's no hope for them ever becoming happy or satisfied. No matter how much they exploit the resources of material nature, and ultimately material nature will hold back her resources and people will starve because of their sinful activities. And of course, he knew about when he was going to die, Maharaj Parikshit, and therefore he fasted without taking any water or food or sleep for 7 days. If we try to do it for even 1 day, we get bewildered. What to speak of 7 days and nights, and trying to hear Bhagavatam. We can't even hear Bhagavatam for half an hour without getting sleepy, wondering when is this going to end. I'm being tortured. What to speak of hearing with rapt attention for 7 days a night without taking even a drop of water or even a little bit of food or sleep. That's amazing. Only a Mahabhagavat could actually perform such an activity. Just like there was one devotee, Murari Gupta, Sharanga Thakur, who was so exalted that sometimes he'd go into the forest and slap the faces of the tigers. Sometimes he'd put venomous snakes on his lap and play with them. And sometimes he'd be underneath the water for 7 days without becoming inconvenienced by it. Only a great Mahabhagavat could do something like that. And certainly only a great Mahabhagavat could actually last 7 days and nights, not eating and sleeping, or taking even a drop of water, and having perfect attention during the whole time. Therefore, such personalities are what's described in the Bhagavatam, and therefore they're worth hearing about. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti rakarna rasayanam kata tajdoshvarashvavarga vartmani shararatir bhaktir nukramishiti. That this satam prasangam, hearing about Krishna's glories, also means hearing about the devotees' glories. Because then we know how to utilize our tongue and our mind properly, so that we gradually come to the platform of jubilation, happiness in Krishna consciousness. Satam prasangam mama virya samvido bhavanti rakarna rasayanam kata. That our life becomes full of happiness and nectar. Tajdosha varashvavarga vartmini. First, we become liberated from our material misconceptions, doubts, and resentments or whatever else. And then Shraddha, then real faith is developed. Then Rati, real attachment to Krishna develops. And finally, Shraddha Ratira Bhaktir. And then real love for Krishna will manifest itself. And love for everyone and everything in relation to Krishna. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? You had your hand up before.
Yeah, that was a comment I wanted to say.
Okay.
Talking about casket. These days, oh, thank you. You were talking about the casket. I just wanted to add this comment that these days they have advanced caskets, in a sense that you can sort of scan the code, and then it shows like about all of your life.
Oh, how sweet. But the casket is underneath the ground. I mean, it's above the ground where you can scan.
Yeah.
Not that you have to dig up and scan it. No.
I think there's like a
monument
like
on
a
top.
sign or something, and they have like a code, and then they are scanning.
They have something, yeah. Find out how you ate, slept, made, and defended. So others can follow your example. Anything else? Well, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.